Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hello class, good morning. Thank you for joining our presentation. Before we start the presentation, let me introduce our group. The first, my name is Mama Ichsan, and there is Trisha Fitri, there is Mrs. Desar Arisandi, and last, Aulia. Okay, for this presentation, we will discuss about integrating technology into secondary English language teaching. And I hope you enjoy this presentation and listen very carefully. Okay, for the first speaker, we will deliver by Trisha Fitri.
Okay, and this chapter is about introduction. For the purposes of this chapter, the term secondary education is used to refer to learners aged 11 till 18. According to UNESCO's International Standard Classification of Education, or ISCED, secondary education can be divided into two parts. There are lower secondary and upper secondary. Lower secondary education usually begins when children are aged 11 till 12 and lasts 4 years. The entrance age to upper secondary education too is typically 15 or 16 years and lasts from 2 to 5 years of schooling. Depending on the country, teaching at lower secondary is typically subject focused and aimed at preparing students for entry directly into working life or for upper secondary education, whereas the focus of upper secondary education is on preparing students for entry directly into working life or for tertiary education, according to UNESCO 1997. And next is about growth of technology use. There has been a tremendous growth of information communication technologies, or ICT, across the board in recent years. An overwhelming majority of teachers in Europe, 90%, use ICT to prepare the lesson. According to Empirica 2006, there are two types of ICT stories. According to Ilomaki 2008, the first saw expectation for ICT being overestimated in the majority of cases, with the process of implementation being top-down and without a strong commitment of the schools or the teachers. In some cases, however, success came when the focus was placed on the needs of a specific school and was supported by internal improvement of the school. The effect of supporting teachers and on training teachers to use ICT can also not be underestimated.
Okay, thank you, Krishna. And the next material will be delivered by Ms. Desar.
Okay, teacher training and continuing professional development in ECT. Research indicates that training in ECT skills is crucial in implementing ECT integration in the teaching and learning of English, and the extent to which teachers are given time and access to pertinent training to use computers to support learning plays a major role in determining whether or not technology has a major impact on achievement, by Samuel and Jitun. Okay, and personal learning networks, or PLNs, developed out of the idea of building a personal learning environment, or PLE, which is built out of a collection of web tools set up and owned by the learner. In this way, the management of learning migrates from the institution to the learner, and learning also evolves from being a transfer of content and knowledge to the production of content and knowledge. Since 27, the focus has shifted to PLNs to reflect that most of the learning in PLE comes from connecting to other people. An example of the increased interest in using PLNs in language teaching is the Planet Project, which aims to help teachers build their own PLNs for professional development. And then, and then telecollaboration is a shared teaching and learning experience that is facilitated through the use of internet technology between distant partners in institutional setting. This is according Dolly 28. Collaborative learning can increase students' interest in learning, and especially when the students are actively exchanging and negotiating ideas, engaging in discussion, and taking responsibility for their learning. It is important for there to be group goals and individual accountability. Uh, and that each member of the group be responsible for a concept necessary for completing the task. Social interaction when working together can lead the student performing at higher intellectual levels than when working individually.
Okay, class. And the next point of the material will deliver by Aul.
Study Case 2.1 Telecollaboration at the Secondary School in Egypt. Ayat Altawal has been a teacher of English for more than 10 years and teaches at the Baby Home Language School in Cairo, Egypt. She teaches English to lower secondary learners with the average class size being 28 until 30 students and the language level of the learners ranging from pre-intermediate to intermediate level. There is an internet-enabled computer lab in the school, but Ayat doesn't have a computer in the classroom, so she uses her own laptop. Recently, the school bought a projector which she sometimes uses in class with her laptop. Ayat has also discovered that Skype helps to improve listening skill as the user has to pay active attention to what the interlocutor is saying. It's also useful to practice vocabulary and everyday language in natural way. It fosters improvisation and puts our knowledge to the test when you are trying to write or to speak. Bosa Stephen and Theo 2012. And the next study case to point to sharing the experience of web tools in Brazil. Digital storytelling facilitates the convergence of four student-centered learning strategies: student engagement, reflection for deep learning, project-based learning, and the effective integration of technology into instruction. Barrett 2005. Using digital storytelling with teenage learners is motivating because it gives the learners a voice as well as freedom and creativity to express themselves. It is also a way for the learners to use English in a meaningful way on a project they have a say in, and because it is published online, which they can share with their classmates, parents, and any other interested parties.
Okay, thank you all for the material. So before I close this presentation, guys, let me deliver the conclusion of this presentation. So there are a number of different conclusions that can be drawn from the case studies presented here. The first point is using technology to enhance language learning, as Jewel mentioned, allows for increased learner autonomy and control, providing a more student-centered pedagogy. with learner as the center of the learning process and more actively engaged in their learning than in traditional direct instruction methods. Jewel 2000 2006. The second point is learning technologies are becoming more normalized in language classroom as BAX or BAX 2003 predict. And teachers are beginning to stop saying them as technologies and start saying them as tools which serve some purpose and not others. And the last point is many teachers are self-directing their own learning when it comes to using technology and are increasingly turning to online community of practice, taking course and building their own PLNs to act as a support system to help with the implementation of learning technology. And finally, encouraging the use of educational technology in secondary language education has wider implication, as Dolly 2008 mentioned, if we are truly interested in preparing our students to be a responsible citizen in an increasingly technology and advanced society, then our way of teaching our students must reflect this. Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you for joining this presentation. And for the Q&A section, you can put the question in classroom. So please allow me to close this presentation. Okay, thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.